Um, I have to say my keyboard is not on. I don't know why. There was some clicks happening before that. So I think Ashlyn will help figure this out. But we will get started. I don't know what that was. Hope you're awake now. Good morning. All right. Definitely need these deep breaths now. So, as you're filing in here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here in person. Thank you for joining us online. It's so good to be in community together. And we all come from different backgrounds, different spaces, different weeks. And so I like to ask us to, if you're willing and able, to take a deep breath in together and release out whatever you're carrying with you in this moment, to let it go. So let's take one deep breath in together and release out. And we're going to wait a few minutes because I still don't have a keyboard. Is your guitar working? I was gonna, it's not on. I was gonna do a time of like contemplative prayer after this first song, but I think we'll just do it now while we're waiting for this to start. So we'll start our morning that way, with gratitude that we got our keyboard back up and working. So just take a moment as you're sitting there. There's so many things to be thankful for. And we'll just take a moment and be thankful. Thank you, God, for this beautiful day, that we can feel the crisp air against our skin, and that our legs can carry us inside this building, and that we can worship together without fear. Thank you for health. If you're willing and able, will you stand for this song? Night has passed and the day lies open. Night has passed and the day lies open before us. Let us pray with one heart and mind. Let us pray with one heart and mind. As we rejoice, as we rejoice. quite simple. The lyrics are lay it all down, lay it all down. Lay it all down, lay it all down. It's the first half. At the feet of Jesus, at the feet of Jesus. So now you know the lyrics. Are you ready? Your part goes like this. I mean, you can sing the whole thing, of course. But the chorus goes, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. Lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down. Lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down, lay it all down at the feet of Jesus. At the feet of Jesus. Think you got it? This is a song about release. This is a song about whatever is going on in your life. Letting it go, letting it die so new life can grow again. It is such a good, the lyrics are so good. I think you guys are really going to like it. All right, here we go. Bring your worry, grief, and pain, every cause you have for shame. Lay it all down, lay it all down. When your cares have buried you, and there's nothing left to do, lay it all down, lay it all down at the feet of Jesus. At the feet of Jesus. Lord, will you show us where we're hanging on to things that we don't really need to? We can acknowledge them and put them down. And you have a better way to handle the things that we want to handle. So show us that way, God, that we may have peace. We love being here with you. We love being here with each other. And we are so grateful for your love and for what you did for us. And thank you for each other. Amen.
Amen. That was awesome. Good morning, Life Church. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Garnet Sophilis, and I have lots of announcements to share with you. Great to see you all this morning, some old faces and some new faces. Want to remind you that Life Church is a safe place to explore your faith. So if you showed up today believing in God and church and faith, and these are the things that ground you and give you hope, you are welcome here. If you joined us today with some hesitation and some questions and wondering if there's anything here for you, you are also welcome here. You are welcome with your questions, your doubts, your hopes, and your curiosities. Whatever brought you here today, we are so glad that you joined us. Now I'd like to ask you all to take a minute to fill out the digital connection card. That can be found in the Life Church app on your phone. If you don't have the app, just go to wherever you get your apps on your phone and search for Life Church Lancaster. Also, if you're online, please fill that out as well. It's a great place for us to connect with you. You can ask for feedback, a prayer request, any information you need. You can also do it through that digital connection card. For those of you that invest financially here at Life Church, we are so thankful for your generosity. Without you, we couldn't do what we do each week. If you'd like to give today, you can check out the giving tab in the Life Church app, or we also have boxes at the back of the sanctuary where you can make a donation. So it's crazy. We're already in the middle of January. In December, our offering for Christmas Eve was to support Church World Services. And I am so excited to share with all of you how generous our congregation was. Together, we were able to send a check to them for $3,490. That is amazing. Way to go. So thank you for everyone that is supporting that and contributing to their good work. That's super awesome. Now, I know some of you are newer here to Life Church. And if you're feeling like this is a time that you maybe want to get more connected and to dive deeper into a relationship with your fellow congregants, I'm going to encourage you to think about joining a small group. A small group is a great way to make connections with people. It's great to see everyone on Sunday, but in small group, you can really dive in and learn more about each other and support one another. Most of the groups meet weekly, and we discuss the Sunday message. Each group session lasts about 8 to 12 weeks, depending on the semester. And at the end of the semester, you can decide, hey, I liked this group, this was cool, I want to stay, or maybe I want to explore a different group, because sometimes it takes a little bit to find your people. Our groups meet various nights of the week in homes and here at the church. So if you're thinking this might be something for you, winter group session is coming up for small group. It's going to start the week of January 29th, so in a couple weeks. If you're interested in trying out a group here at Life Church, again, you can go on the website and sign up, or also in the app. We currently have one group that's accepting new members. We try to limit the size of the groups. If they get too big, it's kind of hard to facilitate discussion and make those good connections. But if you want to join a group and you're not seeing one that works, we have a waiting list, and we'll definitely fit you in. So please consider that. All right. Now my last thing I'm going to touch on here is the Bible. Has anyone ever felt intimidated by the Bible or reading it, or, yeah. Depending on which one you have, if it's that Old English, it's just really hard to digest. So yeah, I think a lot of us struggle with that. And if you have ever wondered how to make sense of what you're reading or how to approach reading the Bible, we have a solution. We're excited to announce that we are going to have a special guest speaker here. His name is Jared Bias, and he's going to be joining us on February 12th. And he is specifically, let's see here, he is from the Bible from Normal People podcast. So, wow, there's like a podcast. That's pretty cool. And he's going to be here at Life Church, and he's going to be preaching on, again, the morning of February 12th. And then after the service, there's going to be a Q&A where you can ask him questions for an hour. So he'll stay in here in the sanctuary from noon until 1. So that's pretty cool. Mark your calendar for that. You know, there's definitely a lot of confusing things in the Bible, and it's hard to know what to do with what we read and see sometimes. Jared will specifically be speaking about how we can read our Bibles in ways that make sense. So get your questions ready and make sure you save the date. If you don't know who this person is, you can get a little introduction by following him on social media, or you can, download a podcast. Again, it's the Bible for Normal People, and you can listen to him and his co-host, Pete Enns, tackle a topic about the Bible. So I know that was a lot. Hope you're still awake. There's lots of great stuff happening here at Life Church. We're so happy each and every one of you is here today physically and also online. And now I would like to introduce one of our fellow parishioners, Lisa, who's going to share the morning message with us. Let's welcome Lisa.
Yes, so hi, I'm Lisa Bartelt. I'm really grateful to be here with you guys again. This is not my normal voice, okay? I've been dealing with a cold for 10 days. So anyway, if this is your first time, this is not what I normally sound like. So here we are. Happy New Year, I guess. I'm going to be kind of honest. It's 2023 and I'm kind of grumpy about it. First of all, how? How is it 2023? Where did the last 3 years go, okay? And yeah, it's a new year, but is it really? Is it really new? Let's see if my clicker's working. Oop, it flashed. Did it do anything? There we go. So far, this new year just feels like when all the congestion somehow moves from one nostril to the other, different but the same, okay? Because of the cold, I really connected with that, okay? And guys, my body has the audacity to turn 45 this year. So for some reason, 40 didn't bother me, but 45 is starting to trigger some feelings. And I don't know what your 2022 was like, but I'm exhausted and not really super excited to see what kind of fresh horror a new year is going to bring. Let's see what happens here. Come on, clicker. This is going to be a really long sermon if this happens, because there are a lot of slides. There we go. No. You're getting a preview. That's not it. Oh, gosh. Okay. We're going to get this worked out. Okay. Take a breath. Let's click. Let's see what happens. Or just click the next slide for me. It's fine. What is happening? Optimist, half full, pessimist, half empty. 2022, it's P, isn't it? Right? Okay. Now, this may not be the kind of thing you came to church or tuned in online to hear, but basically it's what I've got, and at least you know there will be memes. So, a new year used to fill me with a lot of hope, but now I'm just kind of dreading it, or I'm kind of cautious. Nobody claimed oh gosh, come on, it's going ahead of me. Nobody claimed 2023 as your year. We got to go back, guys. There we go. Nobody claimed 2023 as your year. We're all going to walk in real slow, be good, be quiet, be cautious and respectful, don't touch anything, okay? Right? We're just going to tiptoe in, not make a lot of noise, maybe it won't notice us. But if that's not enough for the new year, maybe we need to try to ensure that this year will be better than the last one. Me calling God to make sure I'm registered for the fun and success and not the trial and tribulations package for 2023. Anyone interested in that package, the fun and successful package? Yeah. So, in the span of a year, our family experienced a health scare, a job loss, a new job, the death of a parent, and other things. Maybe you can relate. Early in the pandemic, there was this song called Pigs in the Sky that I couldn't get out of my head because it openly addressed the times we were living in. The opening line says, "Hold up, I've got to Lysol that." And there is some language in the song, so if that bothers you, don't go look for it. But the chorus is what I couldn't shake. It said, "What now? Oh, and what comes next? Probably pigs in the sky, if I had to guess. At points during the height of the pandemic, the news just kept getting more and more unbelievable, like murder hornets and flying spiders and monkeypox and the war in Ukraine, insurrection, all of that piled onto a pandemic, climate change, inflation, and not to mention the personal crises we all face from time to time. Okay. Woke up with a ton of anxiety about a dream I can't really remember, but thank God I'm back in the real world where, nope, this is worse. Okay? So wherever we look, it seems like we're more often than not in a world of hurt, and it can be overwhelming. So here we are. New year, new sermon series, moment by moment. And we're describing it like this, and maybe you saw it in your email or online, but if you didn't, I'm going to read it for you anyway. So we all have moments of pain in our stories. None of us gets through life without some moments of hurt and sorrow. What can we do in the moments that feel like they may destroy us? How can we move on towards healing? How can we support those around us when they are hurting? So I've observed that we have some typical ways of handling pain and suffering, whether it's our pain or someone else's. And by we, I mostly mean me, so please don't feel like I'm personally calling you out if you connect with any of these. I offer these coping mechanisms without judgment, and I'm not saying that these methods are bad or always bad. I came up with 7. Maybe you can think of more. And I made them all start with the letter D, so you're welcome. Okay? The first one, deal with it. Some of us just deal with it. We just jump right in and take care of business. If this is you, I applaud you. I am not a deal with it kind of person when it comes to pain and suffering. I don't have a whole lot to say about this because I literally don't know what it's like to immediately deal with your pain. Denial, on the other hand, I do have some personal experience with, okay? This is fine, right? Everything's fine. So I'm an Enneagram 9, if that means anything to you. I often choose to stick my head in the sand and pretend problems don't exist. When I saw this next meme, I knew immediately that I was an Enneagram 9 because I was literally ignoring a mouse in our house, pretending it didn't exist. You don't have to understand the Enneagram to get this. I'll try to read them for you. So this is like the 9 types see a spider. Type 1, carry forth, kill pest insects, preserve the natural order. Type 2, I will love this spider and will keep it in a box until it dies. Type 3's, I was an extra once in Spider-Man. Type 4, I dreamt about a spider, he represented my father. Type 5, the spider is an arachnid. Type 6, Googles what to do with deadly spider in-house. Type 7, spiders equals silk, silk equals awesome, spiders equal awesome. Type 8, step, I just step on the spider. Type 9, if I don't see you, you don't see me. So you can substitute like any kind of pain and suffering for the spider, and maybe you've got a starting point for figuring out your Enneagram number or how you tend to deal with pain. Okay? Okay, so here we go. Deal with it. Denial. The next one. Dismissal. Sometimes I think this is true more when we're faced with other people's pain. Like we might hear ourselves or someone else say, "You think that's bad? Well, this is like your classic, I had to walk to school uphill both ways in the snow method, right? Or someone might say of your pain or suffering, at your age? Like I've heard this more than once when people find out I'm on blood pressure medication because I'm 40. Say at your age, but you're so young. Well, they used to say that young part. I don't know if they do anymore, but I've been on that medication for years. But pain and suffering don't only happen to people who've lived a lot of years of life. But I'm embarrassed to admit that I have dismissed people's pain because I didn't know the whole of what they were going through. So last fall, I was reminded of this at the opening football game for Conestoga Valley High School. 2 members of the team had died tragically the summer before, and at that opening game, these high school football players, teenagers, literally carried their grief in the form of those teammates' jerseys onto the field. And my heart just cracked in two as I watched them walk solemnly across the field. And I just kept thinking, I wish they didn't have to know the weight of that grief at such a young age, okay? And I do this with my students all the time. I work with students at CV Middle School. And they face all kinds of pain and suffering that I never had to at their age. So I constantly have to remind myself that age is no respecter of suffering. Another way that we might address pain and suffering is to deflect, which maybe is similar to dismissal, but I think it's like the opposite effect. So when we dismiss something, we want to negate someone else's pain. But when we deflect, we want to negate our own. It's just a flesh wound, right? That one's for you, Todd. I put that one in especially for you, okay? So, like, I'm in pain, but it's not that bad, right? So the band AJR has this catchy song out right now called World's Smallest Violin. So some of the lyrics go like this. My grandpa fought in World War II. He was such a noble dude. I can't even finish school. Missed my mom and left too soon. His dad was a fireman who fought fires so violent. I think I bored my therapist while playing him my violin. Oh my God, that's such a shame. Next to them, my stuff don't feel so grand. But I can't help myself from feeling bad. I kind of feel like two things can be sad. So it's like we say, well, yeah, I'm in pain, but it's not as bad as people suffering in Ukraine. You remember the hashtag first world problems that we always used to like? We would minimize our own pain because there's some greater pain out there. Like ours shouldn't be a big deal, okay? All right. Sorry, guys. Can you tell I learned a new trick with PowerPoint? Okay. All right. So here's another one I'm sure most of us can relate to, distraction. Not only am I good at denial, I'm like pro level at distracting myself from pain. My favorite method is a good book or a binge watch. Stories in all formats are my escape. I generally gravitate towards stories where the ending is guaranteed happy or something I've already watched that I know how it's going to work out. But some people I know turn to disaster movies or like mystery and suspense when the world is feeling out of control. Sometimes we don't want to watch the news, right, because that's real, but we're okay watching or listening to crime drama. So I read this book recently called The Empathy Exams by author Leslie Jamison. And in it, she talks about 18th century philosopher Edmund Burke's theory of the sublime. Okay, stay with me, please, right? Burke proposed the notion of negative pain, the idea that a feeling of fear paired with a sense of safety and the ability to look away can produce a feeling of delight. Okay, think about that for a minute, because I'd never heard that before. Jamison then applies that to what we watch on TV. She says, the TV is a portal that brings the horror close and a screen that keeps it at bay. And she calls it sublime voyeurism. Okay? Does our chosen method of distracting ourselves make it easier to look away when faced with the reality of pain? Do we get a sort of sublime feeling that the pain or suffering is happening to someone else and not us? Ugh, that's a question I don't want to think about if I'm being honest, right? Happy New Year, everybody. You didn't know you were getting some philosophical introspection today, did you? Right? Okay. All right, let's keep going because we're having so much fun. Deal with it, denial, dismissal, deflect, distraction, drugs and alcohol. Okay? Now, when I say drugs, I'm not just referring to illegal drugs, although that is certainly a way that people try to cope with pain and suffering. Some of us are just at this phase of our lives, right? Me at 18, I can do whatever I want to do. Me at 40, I can do whatever 800 milligrams of ibuprofen will allow me to do. Okay? When I was in my 20s, the church we attended was part of a softball and volleyball league, and my uncle, who was probably the age that I am now, always pre-gamed with ibuprofen, and I thought that was ridiculous at the time. Who's laughing now, right? Drugs can be helpful in our pain. I mean, this week I survived on a Dayquil-NyQuil combo just to get me through the week, and I certainly wouldn't want to experience surgery without anesthesia. And I'll be honest, I thought I could go the natural childbirth route, but when our second child was born, I had to have an emergency C-section, and I could have kissed the anesthesiologist when he gave me the spinal because my pain was immediately gone, and it was blissful. Okay? I'm not here to comment on your drinking habits or how much pain relief you seek from medicine, But I did want to include this, though, because drugs and alcohol do have a way of numbing us to the pain in unhealthy ways. Addictions can develop when it becomes easier to take the medicine than to face the pain. All right, number 7, here we are. You made it so far. There's some suspense here with this, too. Dessert. I needed a D word, another D word, okay? I couldn't think of anything else food-related. And besides, dessert is my own personal vice. Ice cream solves everything, right, Ben? Yep, okay. For the first year of the pandemic, I ate ice cream every night, which sounds like I was #winning at life, but my health said otherwise. I do love ice cream, but I do not recommend it as daily therapy. Maybe your go-to comfort food is something else. Life gets hard, and we crave comfort food. Or we pop a chocolate in our mouths, and then another, or we scarf a bag of chips. And again, I really hope I'm not sounding judgmental about all this. Like, comfort food is called that for a reason, right? And I personally struggle with feeling shame about certain kinds of foods that I like, so please don't hear that in what I'm saying. Food can be another way to avoid the pain, but that doesn't mean that food is bad. So as I considered all of these methods to avoid and numb our pain or the pain we see in others, I was left with a question. Why? Why do we spend so much time, effort, and money trying to distance ourselves from pain? I'm literally asking you why. Audience participation works for Mindy, Sean, and Miley, so don't let me down here, okay? So why? Why do we spend so much time trying to distance ourselves from pain? While you're thinking, I'm gonna drink some water. We don't want to feel bad. Yeah, nobody wants to feel bad. Fear, was that what? Okay. I'm sorry, what did you say, Dwayne? Pain is heavy, yeah. It hurts, it's inconvenient, it's annoying, right, pain? And sometimes it's just easier to numb out, okay? So, what I'm about to say might sound controversial. Are you ready? Okay. In the hands of a healer, pain isn't pointless. It might even have a purpose. So I want you to pay attention to how that statement makes you feel. Does it make you angry? Or curious? Or defensive? Maybe it makes you feel seen. Maybe you're ready to walk out or turn the live stream off, okay? Stick with me if you can, okay? I am not saying that God causes our pain or that he wills our suffering. I don't want you to hear that. And I don't want you to take away from this that all pain has a purpose, because I don't believe that. I read something by Kate Bowler recently in her book, No Cure for Being Human. This is like her memoir of her time being treated for stage 4 colon cancer, okay? So she says this, and she's a lot smarter than I am, and she's got like theological degrees and everything, so I think we can trust her. But she says, while I believe that there may be rich meaning at every crossroad in our lives, each meeting and departure, car accident, or chance encounter, I do not believe that God will provide for every need or prevent every sorrow. From my hospital room, I see no master plan to bring me to a higher level, guarantee my growth, or use my cancer to teach me. Good or bad, I will not get what I deserve. Nothing will exempt me from the pain of being human. Okay. You might disagree with her. That you might feel some things like when you hear that. But I just want you to hear her perspective, okay? So let me explain where this idea is coming from. Once a month, I see a massage therapist that literally keeps me on my feet. And one night when I was on the table, she was working some knots out, and it hurt. Like, my massage therapist has this way of like holding on a tight spot that has me like internally in agony, but then it feels so good when it releases. Her intention is not to hurt me, but sometimes pain is part of the healing process. So it made me think of how seldom we do this with the pain in our lives. Instead of holding on it, pressing on it a little bit to get it to release, we try all these other ways to avoid it. Because pain is bad, right? I mean, that's my first thought. If something hurts, that means something's wrong. But I don't think that's the same thing as pain always being bad. Pain can be like an alert that there's a wound that needs tending. If I step on a splinter, my body sends a pain signal to my brain, and I know I have to get that out. If my muscles are sore, I need to rest them or stretch them. If my appendix is inflamed, my body is going to let me know. In Beach Read by Emily Henry, book club, right? Here we go, book club. The main character says this: once, in a bad season of tension headaches, my doctor had told me that pain was our body demanding to be heard. Sometimes it's a warning, she said. Sometimes it's a billboard. So pain is our body demanding to be heard. Can we even expect to live a pain-free life? Kate Bowler says there's no cure for being human. The band REM tells us that everybody hurts. And The Princess Bride offers us this quotable line: "Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something." Okay? And Jesus also said, "In this world you will have trouble." So the uncomfortable truth is that pain and suffering are a part of life. And that's probably not news to most of us. So it's good that Jesus' words don't end there. Okay? The verse goes on. "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." And I have a feeling this is a familiar verse to us, and maybe we've heard it in the form of platitudes that don't really help when we're suffering. Things like, "God's got this," or "God is in control." I'm sure I don't have to list all the things that people have said to try to provide some comfort when we're suffering or in pain. My personal pet peeve is, "Oh, I can't imagine." Okay? I think these platitudes can be a kind of denial as well. Because talking about pain is tricky, okay? Because it feels a little bit like Fight Club. The first rule of pain and suffering is don't talk about pain and suffering. And I hope you know that when I'm up here talking about difficult subjects, it's because I'm preaching to myself. I feel like I have two modes when it comes to pain and suffering: avoid and deny, or immerse myself in it to the point of depression. So I'm hoping we can find a middle ground, a way to acknowledge the pain and suffering in our own lives and the lives of others without becoming overwhelmed by the enormity of the hurt. And I think one of the first ways we can do that is to lean into the pain. There we go. Oops, oh, don't click again. Okay. Ask yourself, why does this hurt? What am I not willing or able to face? What am I afraid of? Try not to numb it, even if it's just for a few minutes or a day. Let yourself feel. Like Mindy has said before, if we turn off the feelings spigot, we shut ourselves off not only from painful feelings, but good ones too. Now, I'm not saying this is like a rule or like something you have to do, because there are definitely times when it's appropriate to lean away from the pain. I know some of us cannot watch the news anymore because it's just too much. And you don't have to do this with every painful or hurtful thing in the world, because that's not healthy. But I'm just asking you to try it the next time you're tempted to numb or avoid or deny some kind of pain in your life or someone else's. I also want to be clear that I'm not asking us to push through our pain to prove how tough we are. I'm a bad example of this today, so do not, follow my example. You've probably heard people say something like, the only way through is through. And while that's true, it would be nice if there was an alternative. They should invent a way out that is not through, right? So, all I'm asking us to do is pay attention to the pain. What hurts and why? So as we try to find a middle ground for the pain and suffering around us, I wondered, what is it we actually need? Painkillers and numbing agents and binging shows, they only go so far in helping us through our tough times. So how can we help ourselves and each other when these painful times find us? We talked about leaning in. I think we also need to take suffering seriously. Okay? Pain is a unique experience. We can't tell someone else that they're not in pain. or that they need to get over their pain, especially when we're talking about pain that isn't necessarily physical. Mental, emotional, and spiritual pain can be harder to hear in ourselves and others. So when I'm feeling down and someone says, suck it up, I want to break their legs and say, walk it off, okay? This card is available at a shop in downtown Lancaster if you have a friend who would like to receive it. So I think it's important to remind ourselves that pain doesn't have to be visible to be valid. Okay. So lean in, take suffering seriously. Pain doesn't have to be visible to be valid. I think we also need to know that we're not alone in our suffering. And this is why I tend to overshare about my struggles with anxiety and other mental issues. Somewhere deep down, I know I'm not alone, but often it feels like I'm the only one struggling with something. So I share to let other people know that they're not alone. And so it's generally a win-win. During our road trip vacation this summer, Phil and I were listening to this story on NPR about organ donation. And they did a segment about how some hospitals are doing honor walks when a family makes the decision to have their loved one's organs donated after they die. According to the organ donation coordinator at the University of Vermont Hospital, an honor walk is when staff from all across the hospital come and line the halls between the ICU and the operating room as the patient and the family take their final walk all together before the donation. So the entire staff gets notified 15 minutes before the honor walk takes place, and there's doctors, there's custodial staff, there's food service workers, they all together. And this particular hospital makes it personal. So in this story, they even had a gospel choir as part of the honor walk. And the father of the deceased said this when it was over. I guess the most uncomfortable part was after the honor walk is complete. You walk back down that hall. Now that was the most shocking thing. People were still there. It's not like they said, okay, we're out. The honor walk is forward and reverse. It just struck me as a really beautiful illustration of how people can show up for those who are suffering. It is so easy for us to look away or walk away or not show up because it's uncomfortable. It's so powerful to know you are seen in your suffering. Just think about that for a minute. Just this morning, I saw a story about a woman who, in her grief, after her father had died, and she'd moved into a new apartment, and she had so much grief, she couldn't even unpack all of her boxes for her apartment. And one of her friends just called a bunch of friends, and they came over, and they brought dinner, and they literally unpacked her entire apartment. They didn't ask. And she was so embarrassed because she had all these boxes in her apartment. They didn't ask. They just did it. And she was so grateful for that. And she talked about how it was a risk, right? That friend risked doing the wrong thing because they didn't ask. And I think that holds us back sometimes too, right? We're afraid of doing the wrong thing, so we do nothing. So sometimes we have to risk doing the wrong thing. And if we want to model our lives after Jesus, then we have to pay attention to how he showed up for people experiencing deep suffering. I think about the time that he met a funeral procession. Okay. A funeral procession was coming out as he approached the village gate. The young man who had died was a widow's only son, and a large crowd from the village was with her. When the Lord saw her, his heart overflowed with compassion. "Don't cry," he said. Then he walked over to the coffin and touched it, and the bearers stopped. "Young man," he said, I tell you, get up." Jesus was on his way into the village. He didn't have to stop and acknowledge the suffering. And he did more than that. He brought the boy back to life. Now, I wouldn't advise telling someone don't cry unless you've literally received a word from God to say that, right? That's probably not helpful unless you're Jesus. But one of the most powerful things, we can do for people is to show up in the midst of their pain and suffering. It can be as simple as asking, "How are you doing, really?" It can be taking food to them. It can be a text on a difficult day. Whatever moves you to let someone know they are seen, do that, even if it feels small. And especially if some time has passed. Have you ever noticed how much care flows in at the beginning of someone suffering but tends to taper off in the weeks or months after? So, connected to the idea that we're not alone in our suffering is the comfort of knowing that it will end. Jessica Kantrowitz is a writer, and Phil shared these words when he spoke on Father's Day, so you may remember them, but if not, no worries. "You are not alone, and this will not last forever," was a tagline for this book that she wrote about depression, and it released in the first year of the pandemic. And she started tweeting out those exact words daily for more than a year, and it became a sort of life raft for all kinds of situations, not just depression. Besides knowing that we aren't alone, knowing there is an end to whatever we're going through is another way we can help each other and see each other suffering. Obviously, we can't say anything specific about when the suffering will end, but we can rest assured that it won't last forever, even when it feels like forever. So I know that some people would rather not share their pain and suffering with others because maybe it's embarrassing or they're private, and I understand that. And I'm not saying we have to share all the gory details with everyone, but we can offer to others the hope of, I've been there, I got through it, you will too. This is one reason that I love hiking. I call myself an anxious adventurer because I love the idea of travel and seeing new places, but the planning and the actual doing sort of overwhelm me. But hiking, even on a trail that's new to me, eases some of the anxiety because I'm on a path. And someone has been this way before, and they made it through, and there's an end. No trail goes on forever. Some are longer than others, some are more difficult, but they do end. All right, are you with me so far? Okay. You don't have to agree with everything I've said here, and I'm really open to hearing any disagreements you might have. This is just my perspective on pain and suffering. Okay, so let's see where we've been so far. Lean in, take suffering seriously. Pain doesn't have to be visible to be valid. You're not alone, and this will not last forever. And finally, maybe you just need to hear this when you're suffering. It's not your fault. Yes, I know actions have consequences, and sometimes we make decisions that can contribute to our troubles. But having an experience of pain or suffering in and of itself, is not an indication that you've done something wrong. Writer, speaker, and podcaster Glennon Doyle says this in her book, Untamed. If you are uncomfortable, in deep pain, angry, yearning, confused, you don't have a problem. You have a life. Being human is not hard because you're doing it wrong. It's hard because you're doing it right. You will never change the fact that being human is hard. So you must change your idea that it was ever supposed to be easy. Painful situations, grief, medical diagnoses, you don't get a pass on these things if you're rich or famous or a celebrity. I wish I had an explanation for why good things happen to bad people and why bad things happen to good people, but I don't. I only know one thing for sure, and I'm going to tell you a story about it. So in 2018, we bought our first new-to-us car in nearly 10 years. We had almost literally driven the wheels off our minivan, and it was time to upgrade. So we ended up with a Volkswagen Jetta that I just fell in love with, right? Fast forward a year later, almost to the day, I came home from work, I had a bunch of stuff to unload. So instead of parking in my usual spot in our driveway that's kind of behind our house, I pulled up closer to the door and parked underneath a couple of trees that hung over the driveway. I was leaving later that night, so I didn't move the car back to its usual spot. A strong thunderstorm rolled through, and we heard a loud noise, but we just thought it was thunder. After the storm subsided a bit, I looked outside. There was a very large tree branch on top of our car, like the whole length of the car. The front windshield was smashed, the hood and the roof were dented. Like Phil and our landlord had to cut the tree limb into pieces before the car could even be assessed or towed. It was like a 2-month saga before we got everything sorted out and got our car back, and that whole time, I was blaming myself. I was so sure that if I had parked in my normal spot, if I hadn't pulled up, then this wouldn't have happened, and I would have spared us all kinds of trouble. I was telling my chiropractor about it, and she said, "Really? It was your fault a tree fell on your car?" I mean, put that way, it sounds ridiculous, right? Of course it wasn't my fault that a tree fell on my car. So, fast forward again to pandemic Christmas of 2020. Phil had found a piece of the limb that fell in our car, and he made me this sign that I'm going to show you here in a minute to remind me that it and any other thing that happens wasn't my fault. Okay, I just have to warn you, there's a grown-up word on the next slide. I'm not going to read it out loud, but if you have, you need to cover your eyes or your kid's eyes or something, okay? Here it is. This is all I know, okay? This is all I know for sure, okay? Did anybody have curse words in church sermon on their 2023 bingo card? Yes? Jeff, great. Okay, you win, all right? Okay, so I did call Mindy and ask her if this was okay because I didn't want to get in trouble. Okay, so I feel like I've thrown a lot at you this morning, right? Okay, lean in, take suffering seriously. Pain doesn't have to be visible to be valid. You're not alone. This will not last forever. It's not your fault, okay? So bear with me as I share just some final thoughts on how we can navigate our pain and the pain of others. I know some of us are easily overwhelmed by what's happening in the world and in our lives and in our friends' lives, and it can be tempting to shut down and give up on hope. So I like this reminder that professor and author Cheryl Bridges-Johns recently tweeted. She says, "Sometimes I'm prone to catastrophic thinking. In these times, I'm reminded of Tolkien's concept of eucatastrophe. Eucatastrophe is a sober embrace of this present darkness, but with the awareness that good can suddenly break through, not by heroic effort, but by grace." Okay? So if you've read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, you'll understand a little bit about this eucatastrophe. You learned a new word today. Say it with me, eucatastrophe. Okay, great, thank you. All right. Embracing the reality of what is while understanding that good can suddenly break through. Again, I think it's a form of paying attention. Okay. And I think most of us probably want to show empathy in painful situations, but sometimes we don't know how or we want to do something to make it better. So here are a few more thoughts from the author of the empathy exams. Okay. Empathy isn't just remembering to say that must be really hard. It's figuring out how to bring difficulty into the light so it can be seen at all. Empathy isn't just listening. It's asking the questions whose answers need to be listened to. Empathy requires inquiry as much as imagination. Empathy requires knowing you know nothing, okay? It's a lot to digest. Empathy takes practice, but asking questions and assuming we know nothing about someone else's pain. Okay, the author continues. Empathy isn't just something that happens to us, it's also a choice we make to pay attention, to extend ourselves. You're just a tourist inside someone else's suffering until you can't get it out of your head, until you take it home with you across a freeway or a country or an ocean. And again, a word of caution. For some of us, this is where it gets overwhelming, right? Because we could take home like the pain of the whole world. That's not healthy or sustainable. But neither is shutting ourselves off to all the hurts in the world. Okay, one more thought from Jameson. Some news is bigger news than other news, but I don't believe in a finite economy of empathy. I happen to think that paying attention yields as much as it taxes. You learn to start seeing. Okay, that, my friends, is all I want us to walk away with. To learn to start seeing our own pain for what it's trying to tell us and the pain of the others so that we can share the load. In the Bible, we have a record of Paul instructing the church at Galatia to carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. We aren't meant to walk through these tough times alone, and I know that requires effort and stepping outside of our own hurts and pains. And it can be even more difficult if we haven't been on the receiving end of that kind of sharing of burdens when we've needed it. So let me leave you with these thoughts from poet Amanda Gorman. Grief, like glass, can be both a mirror and a window, enabling us to look both in and out, then and now and how. In other words, we become a window pane. Look at what she did with the word pain there, right? Instead of P-A-N-E. Only somewhere in loss do we find the grace to gaze up and out of ourselves. I wish I could promise you a pain-free life, that all your dreams will come true this year, that none of us will suffer or experience pain or loss or grief in the coming months. But I can't. All I can offer you is the invitation to go through it together and the opportunity to pay attention to what those moments might be saying to you. Will you pray with me? God, we don't always understand why we experience pain and suffering or why there's so much hurt in the world. But we thank you that we aren't alone in it, that we can go through it together, and that you have given us ways to support and encourage each other. Help us the next time that we are facing something painful or uncomfortable to pay attention to it and what it might be trying to say to us, and help us to risk being wrong by doing something for someone else who might be in pain or suffering. Lord, I just thank you for all these people here and the chance to be together with them and to work through these difficult concepts together. Amen.
Thank you, Lisa. Would you stand for this last song, if you're willing and able? I won't pretend that we can control the night or what kind of road we're on or where we will see the light. But right now I'm talking to you, I'm looking into your eyes. Right now I'm trying to show you that we're gonna be alright. Oh, I don't know what's around the bend. Oh, all I know is that my love, it knows no end. All these pieces, they fall in line because I'm forever on your side. Take my hand when you can't see the light, 'cause I'm forever on your side. I will carry you every time, 'cause I'm forever on your side. Oh, I'm forever on your side. They'll beat you up, but don't let them keep you down, 'cause you're always tough enough, and I'll always be around. Oh, I don't know what's around the bend. Oh, all I know is that my love, it knows no way. All these pieces, they fall in line because I'm forever on your side. Take my hand when you can't see the light, 'cause I'm forever on your side. I will carry you every time, 'cause I'm forever on your side. Oh, 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 yes, I'm forever on your side. Oh, I can't promise. Oh, I can't promise that a day will never come when the ground beneath us falls out and we got nowhere to run. Oh, and you won't be alone when the waters start to rise up. Hey, yeah, no, you won't be alone, my darling, when the rains come. Oh, I don't know
Thank you, Lisa. Oh my gosh, that was so good. I have so many thoughts running around in my head, but you guys, people say a lot of things about what church is, but I think what just happened here is what it's all about, because Lisa has a connection with God, and she has a connection with you and her friends, and she's working it out, and she shared her experience with us. She shared how God shows up. She shared how her friends show up and the quiet struggles she has alone and the ones she's able to share, and she offered her journey to us. And we get to say, oh, me too. I see that. God shows up for you. God's showing up for me. And when I can't believe it, I know you'll show up for me. That's community. And what is the great command? Jesus summed it all up. You love each other. Like, that's it. Lisa, you gifted us this morning. Thank you for sharing your journey. And you're right, we're all human, and we all suffer, and we all have those moments where it feels like it's not going to end, and I don't know where to go next. And we do the best we can. So thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable with us. We got a gift from you this morning, and we're thankful for it. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's so good to be with you. The band has decided that they're going to play us out each week, so that's kind of nice. Thank you. It's kind of like a little smooth transition. Don't forget to sign up for groups if you're not in groups. And like Garnet let us know, there's one that's open on Tuesday night, so we're kind of funneling everyone to that one. But if you want to be in a group and that time doesn't work, please sign up on the wait list, and we will reach out to you and see what we can do. Groups is a great way to take those next steps. So thank you for joining us. It's so good to be with you all, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Be well.
You are the best thing. Oh, you are the best thing. Oh, you are the best thing. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Oh, 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 ooh, oh, oh, yeah, that ever happened to me. Yeah, you are the best thing. Oh, you are the best thing. You are the best thing. Oh, 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 that ever happened to me. 'Cause baby, you know, ain't no mountain high enough. There ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you. Whoa.
Yeah. I totally forgot in the first song to do the pause in the pre-chorus the second time through.
Looking for it, and I was like,
She's not.
kind of like, no, it'll be okay.
I also forgot to put a spot in to sing happy birthday to Holly. But we kind of started late because of the keyboard issue.
Yeah, kind of.
And
It's
then
funny